Hey everyone, how's it going? My name is Gary Coichy. I am the founder and CEO of Pod Digital Media. I'm very excited to be here to talk about the power of multicultural voices. Pod Digital Media, we are the first and the largest multicultural podcast network in the country. Oops, the clicker's not working, by the way.
No, it's left, right.
So which way?
Other way.
There we go. Thank you. Yep. Pod Digital Media, we are the first and the largest multicultural podcast network in the country. So what we do is we work with over 400 podcast content creators. So when advertisers, blue chip brands, McDonald's, Procter & Gamble, Walmart, Ford, Lexus, Toyota are looking to reach that audience authentically within the podcast ecosystem, they're relying on us to help them make that happen. We have shows in every single category you can think of: sports, news, relationship, mental health, so on and so forth. The multicultural audience has buying power. And what we mean by that, it's a $3.4 trillion of buying power. And that's due to the fact of advancements in business and, of course, in education. What we do teach our brand partners is there's 4 trends that they need to know in order to reach that audience authentically. Is that, 1, for them, the future is now. They are connected and in control. Culture matters. And the unifiers that they care for is comedy, music, and sports. They're also avid podcast listeners, and the numbers show it, right? So 78% of Black listeners say they would purchase a brand if they were to hear it on a podcast by a Black podcast host. 43% of US multicultural population are monthly podcast listeners, which is 5% higher than the general market. And brands that have HBCU initiatives, 65% of monthly podcast listeners either are alumni or current HBCU students. And then from a brand recall rate, according to Nielsen, 74% brand call rate, ad rate. And the latest stat is 90% of Black monthly podcast listeners listen to a podcast with a video component. We'll touch base on that in a second. On the Latino side, you have the U.S. Latino population that has gone up by 5% within the last 3 years, and we do expect that number to go up within the next 5 to 10 years. You have 70% of the numbers of monthly podcast listeners that has increased within the last 4 years. The number of Latinos that watch a video podcast has also increased by 20%. And the time spent by Latino monthly podcast listeners has gone up by 36% within the last 4 years. So both numbers on the video front matters because within the last 2 weeks, there's a report that came out that YouTube is now the #1 platform as to where they're consuming the podcast content. The reason is now you have your T1 influencers, you have your current athletes, former athletes, your thought leaders. They're now all creating podcast content, right? So in addition to the audio, they have high quality video content that they're creating, which allows their fan base to actually go ahead on YouTube to watch them, see their impressions, look at the people that they're interviewing so that they can actually engage with the content. They are extremely loyal fans. They love their sports. So Black and Latino communities really engage with ads that are in the sports content. 50% of Latino sports audio listeners and 48% of Black sports audio listeners would actually recommend an ad to their friends and family if they were to hear it in a podcast, in comparison to 34% with their white counterparts. And Black sports fans spend an average of 7 hours and 56 minutes, we might as well say 8 hours, listening to podcast content, in comparison to 5 hours and 45 minutes from the Latino audience and 5 hours and 32 minutes with the white audience. So how do brands reach these digital trendsetters, right? The days of one size fits all no longer exist, right? So what we do tell our brand partners on a day in and day out is that you need a fully integrated marketing approach that will help you reach the multicultural audience authentically in a way that's meaningful, in a way that connects with them, that drives brand resonance, that drives business sales, and for them to actually become your fans. 1, you need podcast integration. Secondly, you need series of custom podcast episodes. Now with NIL marketing, the rules changing at the high school and the collegiate, you need to, with NIL marketing, you need influencer activation, given the fact that now you have your influencers, your thought leaders, current athletes that also have large following on social that are now creating content, so you need an influencer activation. And last but not least, you need events and live podcast activations. Podcast integration, that one is easy. You need your pre-roll, you need your mid-roll, you need your post-roll, you need your custom segments within the podcast. We see a lot of brands come into the space and say, hey, we have this pre-recorded assets that we've used in the past. We want to use it for a podcast integration campaign. And we say no. To that, we say, look, give the podcaster, right? Give them some flexibility. Allow them to use their tonality to talk to their audience. Don't give them a pre-recorded assets. Allow them to create their own scripts so that they can actually seamlessly integrate your brand messaging as part of their content so that you can resonate with their audience. And the custom segments is them telling a story. So versus sticking to the 30 seconds or 60-second ads, give them an opportunity to tell a story between 2 to 3 minutes and incorporating your brand as part of that story. The second piece is custom series and custom episodes. We're not asking brands to go ahead and create a 12 series episodes of infomercials. No. What we're saying is identifying the right content creators, the right podcasters that can actually speak to your brand, and creating a series of 10 to 12 episodes where you're actually telling a story where they can actually go ahead and convey your brand. We were able to execute that successfully for Toyota last year with Soledad O'Brien and J.R. Smith. The third piece is experiential. This is the live activation, the live podcast piece that I mentioned earlier. What does that mean? Is identifying those key cultural moments that matters to your brand, whether that's Super Bowl, All-Star, International Women's Month, Black History Month, Black Music Month, Pride Month, Fashion Week, HBCU homecomings, and last but not least, Art Basel, right? Identifying those key moments, connect with the right podcasters, create these moments, create these live activations, and allow their fans to actually come in, be present, engage with your brand, and in that way you can actually gain a set of new fans. And the last piece would be influencer and NIL activation, right? It's not just giving them a product and say, hey, do an unboxing for me. No, get the podcasters to not only talk about your product in their podcast, but at the same time showing those clips on social media, showing how they engage in there and how they're using your product so they can actually go ahead and make sure that they're amplifying your brand messaging. And lastly, the last slide that I have for you guys is some of the cultural calendars that I mentioned earlier. So it's making sure that you're part of these key moments, right? It's Black History Month, All-Star, Super Bowl, Fashion Week, International Women's Month. F1 actually is actually pretty big in the States, especially amongst younger Gen Z fans, right? Pride Month, WNBA, women's sports is currently thriving right now. It's doing extremely well. Hispanic Heritage Month, HBCUs, HBCU homecomings. Don't just show up on their campuses during homecoming season. Have an evergreen strategy, right? Unrivaled, and the last one would be Art Basel. Thank you so much. I'll stay to see if there's any questions. That's it now. Thank you, guys.